If there's one game of the early millennium that deserves to be recognized and talked about more, it's Nox. Not only was it successful with its narrative-driven single-player campaign, it also expanded the game for free, supplying us with replayability with the randomized quest mode, and even managed to quench the thirst of the most hardcore PvPers. It held a candle to the most popular PC games of the time like Diablo, Age of Empires, Heroes of Might and Magic, Warcraft, and also the exploding MMORPG market. This all seemed to spell out the absolute prosperity for Westwood Studios. A sequel was an expectation. Unfortunately for the gaming world, EA's finger of death managed to claim yet another victim, sending one of the most creative, refined, and addicting games of the early 2000s to an early grave. I'm your retro bro Basil, and we're going to dig into the unique experience of Nox together. Before I go further, I'd like to clarify what a MOBA is so that I may properly classify this game. Nox is first and foremost a single-player RPG experience, one of the first attempts at a Western-style RPG no less. A more narrative-driven, action-oriented style of game where you had the freedom to choose how you play. However, this video is centralized around the online interaction Nox created. Many people who are currently watching this video who have played Nox know why I am creating this video. The PvP aspects of this game were so ahead of its time. Disregarding all single-player experiences, this game becomes a game where you build your inventory with gear that you find, complete map objectives, and kill any opposing players in an arena that is generally balanced or symmetrical. The latter fully depending on what type of rule set players were participating with. Now, the genre of MOBAs has increasingly become refined, and I've seen massive debates about what qualifies a game as a MOBA. Giving Nox some wiggle room, I can say that Nox is one of the first games balanced around the idea that players should compete within an arena, centralized around collecting gear, and battling with characters that have unique abilities. I know that modern MOBAs have more to do with lanes and structural objectives, but Westwood Studios was clearly ahead of its time. The creator Michael Booth had intentions to release a program that would have allowed people to mod the game, which I guarantee would have led to what we perceive as the MOBAs of today. Nox had the bare bones of a MOBA, and considering its age, we should put this under the umbrella of a multiplayer online battle arena style game, as well as a tactical fantasy arena game. Westwood Studios also developed a plethora of other successful games and has been recognized in recent years. It is a shame that EA decided to pull the plug on this brilliant studio. Now that we have Nox established as what I can describe as an early form of a MOBA, I can go into why this game rocks. It is seriously such an amazing experience. I've actually been able to introduce my friends to this game despite its age, and all of them have had a blast. The caveat is a steep learning curve combined with an old, dedicated community of insanely skilled players. I mean, there are some people that absolutely stomp me, and I've been playing this game since I was 11 years old, back in the year 2000. Nox allows you to choose from 3 separate characters, the warrior, the conjurer, and the wizard. Each hero possesses different stats and abilities, from the simple and strong warrior to the self-sufficient and ranged conjurer, and to the complex and deadly wizard. This game is supremely balanced by only having 3 classes, although I'd argue at peak level play, a wizard cannot be stopped. However, with the various arenas and battlegrounds, that type of play is usually nullified by the amount of people participating. The types of games range from Capture the Flag, Deathmatch, Flagball, King of the Realm, and Elimination. All of these battlegrounds and arenas have items, armor, and weapons strewn throughout them, all catering to the various classes. If you've played through the single-player campaign, none of these items should be too unfamiliar. Some game types featured teams up to 20, mainly Capture the Flag, which was absolutely insane. I've never played or experienced anything that epic or intense. The thing is, with these game types, each class really shined for how they were designed. Warriors could soak up damage, carry objectives, and hold the front lines. They were faster than any other class and could halt an entire battleground with their AoE silence. They could literally use their main ability to traverse a battleground or instantly KO someone. However, he only has 5 major abilities, one of which is useless in combat and the other is for seeing invisible units, so that doesn't really leave him with too many options. However, a good warrior can close in on his opponents, dodging spells with skill and foresight. The warrior's strongest ability is Berserker Charge, a strong one-hit kill move. The only way it won't kill is if you're hitting another warrior with armor or person with force field. Even then, you can kind of manage a 1-2 combo with a well-timed swing of your sword. This ability is the bread and butter of the warrior class. There is nothing more satisfying than mowing down people in your way and getting a kill reset. Yes, this ability resets when you get a kill off of it. Usually doesn't happen too often, but when it does, it's a great feeling. And there is a drawback of this move. If you miss, you can hit a wall or an object and become stunned, which leaves you open to a conjurer's Fist of Vengeance, which actually leads us to your next ability, which is an AoE silence to everyone around you, Warcry. Seems pretty good, right? Well, it is. However, you become stationary and vulnerable. Most wizards and conjurers will be carrying a specialized weapon to punish you for using this move, which kinda sucks. So if you Warcry to stop that Fist of Vengeance from happening, you're gonna get crossbowed by a conjurer or death rayed by a wizard. Your last major move is Harpoon, which is very useful. It slowly pulls an enemy towards you if you hook them. You don't have to aim too much with this move as it magnetizes towards targets, however it will hit walls or objects in the way. There is a method to the madness with this move, as you can time a hefty swing with a Warhammer or Greatsword and crush your opponent. Only if you manage to get your hands on one of those anyways. As just stated, the warrior's two favorite weapons are the Warhammer and the Greatsword. Both have great purpose. A Warhammer will one-shot anyone who does not have armor or a force field on, and the Greatsword is a heavy-hitting weapon that can reflect and block spells when stationary. This class is the simplest to use, however, you can always tell if you're fighting a good warrior as their movement will be thoughtful and purposeful, not just spamming Zerg Charge at the first moment you see someone, kinda like me. Despite a warrior's simplicity, it should be noted that it is extremely challenging when it comes to overall movement and avoidance of enemies. There are so many spells that can mess with you, from run to fumble, slow, swap location, wall, knockbacks. Proper jukes, dodges, and reflections are a must. Overall, this is definitely the fan favorite. Almost everyone who plays this game has their warrior on standby. Conjurers are, well, sort of a middle ground in terms of stats, and while they don't nearly have as much health or speed as a warrior, they have a mana pool and a plethora of abilities to boot. Unlike the cooldown-based warrior, mana management comes into play, and the skill of managing your mana becomes extremely important, and it seems to always be a pain in most games. But in Nox, the solution is as simple as standing next to a mana crystal. In fact, depending on the crystal placement, it is advantageous defensively to regain mana and protect yourself. It usually results in a game of cat and mouse, but a good conjurer or wizard will usually disperse the situation very quickly. Anyways, the Conjurer. He's a caster-archer combination that can summon creatures to do his bidding. Sounds cool, right? It is. Not only can a conjurer one-shot anyone with various moves, he's self-sustaining and he can hold his own even when silenced. Not to mention, taunt canceling is very satisfying. The conjurer shares a wide range of moves with the wizard: protection spells, teleporting, healing, all mainly besides his two signature moves, Fist of Vengeance and Force of Nature. Poison can leech KOs for arena matches, Meteor is just a weaker and faster version of Fist of Vengeance, Poison Gas is okay with bombs, and Stun is great versus other conjurers and wizards. As far as summoning goes, most have some use and actually becomes a matter of preference. Do you want a giant, slow-moving golem that'll mess up your enemies with a few swings? Or do you want smaller, annoying creatures that'll interrupt spellcasts? Maybe Ghost that stun, or a Beholder that casts spells himself. In certain game modes, these creatures are a lifesaver, but they take time and mana to summon. But what really takes the cake with this class are his one-hit KO moves. Disregarding armor and force field, you can one-shot anyone with Fist of Vengeance, which is frankly hilarious. I mean, it's a giant hand of God that smashes your enemies. Force of Nature is a reflectable ball of death that kills anyone it passes through, regardless of armor and force fields, and that is unique. Fear will well up inside you as you hear the sound of one being summoned, then hearing the sound of it bouncing down the hall towards you. You also have an extremely powerful weapon, the crossbow, which requires a lot of skill and reading to use properly. This trifecta of one-hit kills can really cement certain people into playing the Conjurer. The simple pleasure of sending a force of nature into a brawl, a room, or a hallway and seeing death after death pop up in the kill feed, or watching a warrior miss a Zerg charge and letting the heavens punish him, or even sniping an unprepared foe. I highly recommend this class to anyone who loves trolling, though I should state that this class is still highly skill-based. And finally, the Wizard. My god, I have never felt such helplessness in my entire life. Facing a skilled wizard is terrifying. It is unbelievable how overwhelming it can be playing against one of these people. If you're looking for that all-in-one overpowered character, this is it. From fireballs to electrocution to death rays, magic missiles, teleporting, counterspelling, slowing, anything. This class can do anything. The catch: you have the least amount of health in the game. Without buffs, you are also the weakest and slowest. You will get crunched without preparation. Thankfully, blinking around safely is a good way to prepare against your foes. Force Field takes up about 3/4 of your mana and is your only way out of one-shot kills. So, not too accessible, but again, prep time is everything as a wizard. A wizard that comes prepared to a fight is one to be feared. If they manage to get their hands on a Death Ray staff, say goodbye to your chances of winning as a warrior. Warcry will not help you, but in fact kill you. While I did say this game is balanced, it's pretty clear wizards are on top of the food chain. They have the tools to beat anyone, any monster, and help complete any objective. It's hard for me to voice my opinion on wizards as I've only ever been on the receiving end of a fight, so I'll just leave it there. If you love a steep learning curve with an extremely high skill cap, this is the character for you. As I've stated before, there are quite a few game types and ways to play. However, people really enjoyed Arena, a free-for-all mode where the person who achieves a certain amount of kills first wins, and also capture the flag. Regardless of the game types, you have to learn the maps, item placements, potion locations, structures, secret passages, and mana crystals. CTF is where the game really shined to me. A 20 versus 20 capture the flag game was absolutely insane back in 2000. There was nothing quite like it. Hell, there isn't even still much like it today. The maps were symmetrical, so it was pretty fair, but there were some secrets strewn throughout the map. There was something special about seeing 20 people work together as a team. From the conjurers setting up monsters and bomb defenses in the flag rooms, wizards creating walls and traps to hinder any offense, and warriors braving the battlefield to the other team's base. It was overwhelmingly awesome. I loved seeing a flag carrier with 4 or 5 escorts casting enchantments and spells and just giving everything they had to protect that person. The intense stalemates were also something to behold. Somehow, teams always managed to lose their flags at the exact same time. How? It's really hard for me to get footage of this kind of stuff as not many people had recording software and hardware capable of capturing these beautiful moments. As of now, the servers are being hosted by a completely different set of people, whatever small part of the dedicated fans that remain. It's quite actually sad to see Nox in the state that it is in. You can still log on after modifying some of your files to connect to the player-hosted servers, but because of this, the game is not very accessible. Electronic Arts bought out Westwood Studios and very quickly destroyed everything. I do have some information that I can share with you in regards to the demise of Nox and the potential of a sequel. An older player by the name of Paul Wipe managed to get a hold of the creator of Nox, Michael Booth, who actually contributed to other games like Counter-Strike Condition Zero and Left 4 Dead. Big props to Paul Wipe for getting us this information, and I quote, "Nox was a bittersweet project. It happily consumed 5 years of my life as I took it from the spare bedroom of my house to a premier title for Westwood and EA. The Nox team was a great group of immensely talented people who were all quite passionate about the game, and Westwood was a joy to work with. I fully expected to be working on the Nox franchise for years to come and grow a thriving online community. I have often said that I will probably spend the rest of my life trying to recreate the dynamic, creative atmosphere that we enjoyed during the Nox project. Unfortunately, Nox was also a learning experience for me and was full of as many painful and disappointing lessons as positive ones. At the end of the day, our online community was doomed by the decision to not release Nox Edit and support community mods, which has now become standard practice. I was also unsuccessful in communicating to the public how unique Nox multiplayer was. At the time, Diablo was the only word anyone heard when they looked at the game. Finally, I was so busy building Nox that I didn't realize that management had decided somewhere along the way that the franchise wasn't worth pursuing. By the time we finished Nox Quest, it was dumped onto the net as a free add-on with no press at all. What made this especially puzzling and frustrating was the critical acclaim that Nox received, i.e. a PC Gamer Editor's Choice Award, as well as its solid sales figures, over 600,000 copies sold. There was a lot more I wanted to do with Nox, and I think the fantasy battles we created in the multiplayer game are still quite unique. However, at this point, EA owns the rights, and I've lost control of it entirely. When I left EA, it was pretty clear the Nox project was dead. That said, the basic concept of tactical fantasy combat is still quite interesting to me, and I won't roll out creating a next-generation Nox-like game at some point in the future. This game means a lot to me, and I know it means a lot to people all over the world. I've seen the posts strewn throughout the corners of the internet, many of them asking, what happened to Nox? Why is it gone? I see the older, jaded fans that have given up, and I've even had the opportunity to play with some people on a small server that consider each other family. If I could choose one game out there in the world that deserves more recognition, it's Nox. If I could choose a gaming studio that deserves more credit, it's Westwood Studios. Thank you guys for everything. I'll never forget the moments that you gracefully provided for all of us. The raw intensity, the excitement, the laughter, all of the emotions I've experienced while playing Nox. I could never put a price on that. I've told all my friends that if I was a millionaire, I would literally salary people to play this game online with me. It was such a rich experience. Not to mention, I haven't even talked about the single player experience, which I'll actually be doing a retro review on in a separate video, so stay tuned for that. Anyways guys, that's the video. Thank you so much for watching to the end. As expressed earlier, Nox means a lot to me, and I would love to hear what it means to all of you as well. Let me know down in the comments. What were some of your favorite memories? Single player, Nox Quest, Arena, CTF, Flagball? I'd also love to hear what your favorite class is. As much as I love my Conjurer, I will always enjoy ripping through people on my Warrior. Anyways guys, thanks again. The Super Retro Bros have a lot more content coming your way, so until next time, thanks for watching.